Hey everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Lens. My name is Greg, and I am joined today by Stan, Harry, and Jared here, who are part of the Hardest Geezer crew. Welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, well, very well.
Yeah, good. Having fun.
Yeah, happy to be here. Finally. This has
Yeah,
taken weeks to get
Yeah.
here.
it's taken a while.
Yeah, that's taken a while. Obviously, for those who don't know, we tried to do this interview a couple of weeks ago, and we had a bit of a 90-second of madness, which I sent the clip to the guy where Jared and Stan joined. I think what was it, like 7% battery?
10% battery that ended up just dying like that while we were on the top of a mountain in Windhoek in Namibia.
Meanwhile, in Luanda, Harry was running around the house like a madman, chasing a dog or avoiding a dog.
Being chased by a dog. Yeah, being chased by a dog. Yeah,
That was it. So it was just a complete 90 seconds of complete madness where just kind of everything went wrong in that interview. But
yeah.
we're back version 2.0 today. So what we'll kind of start off with is about Project Africa itself. Obviously, you're there with Russ Cook, who is running the full length of Africa, so the most southern tip to the northern tip. But what else can you tell us about the whole mission?
So I think Stan should start here. He was the first on the actual mission. So
Yeah, just about. Me and Harry joined around the same time, which was September last year, was it?
Late August, early September.
Yeah. Basically, this is a project that Russ has been planning for about 4 years now. Since he first conceptualized it. I think he was in the pub and he just thought, wouldn't it be cool if, and then looked into it and did it as is his style.
All the best.
But me and Harry,
Guinness.
yeah, that's all fine. Probably a part of Foster's at dinner. But yeah, me and Harry joined the project in September. Myself focusing on the YouTube side because I'm a filmmaker and YouTube editor, and then Harry joined also as a filmmaker. He's shot for TV, etc. But also for his amazing language ability. Is it 4 languages, 5 languages?
Four languages, like to conversational fluency or actual fluency, and then a wee bit of Arabic. You see how it functions, but yeah, Spanish, French, English, Portuguese.
So yeah, and then started a 7-month planning period. We were originally due to start in November, and then various logistical issues meant it was going to be January, and then various more logistical issues meant it ended up being April that we left Cape Town. So it's been quite the journey to get here, but
Just the start.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really went. If we wind the clocks back, we were back at Mission HQ in Worthing. There was even blood, sweat, and tears that got to just making this thing happen. To begin with, it was really touch and go whether we'd run out of money before we even started. And then we were meant to do the route north-south, and in the end, we ended up putting the van on a boat all the way to South Africa and doing the whole thing in reverse due to bureaucracy and red tape on behalf of the Algerian government. But if that hadn't happened, this man here wouldn't be sat with us. So, all's well that ends well.
yeah, so I only joined the mission end of March. I must have seen the advert, or beginning of April. They were looking for another shooter, and the requirements were someone that's got experience in directing, someone that's got experience in shooting, someone that's got preferably first aid experience.
Helps.
Yeah, and someone that, it wasn't written, but someone that has a little bit of overlanding experience could probably be a good option as well. And I overland. I'm a first aid instructor. I am a filmmaker and I worked in TV. So I also directed location. So it was like a really good fit. And I saw the advert on a Facebook page on Overlanding Africa. Saw the advert at 6:30 on a Sunday evening. Decided, that's really cool, but I was recovering from a surgery that I had, and I was like, leave it. And then a friend of mine sent me the same ad, and he was like, you need to do this. This is perfect for you. Go take a look. So at 7:30 that night, I typed the longest email of my life.
Good email.
It was a long email. And 10:30 that night, I got a phone call from Russ saying, we like what you're about, and we'd like to chat to you. And it took about a week of back and forth, messaging, sending more questions, kind of discussing things, getting a poll of other people that were possibly going to do it as well. And then I got a call on the following Sunday saying, "Hey man, we want you. When can you be here?" And I said, "Cool, give me 3 days." Packed up my entire life, moved my entire apartment into my mom's house, got rid of everything that I didn't need. And on Wednesday, I was on a plane to meet the boys in Fishhook in Cape Town.
Yeah, on the other side of the country. Yeah,
on the other side of the country, yeah.
So
Wow,
that's
that's
how we
crazy.
came to be here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And say you've already been together, say almost 100 days now, kind of out on this mission as well. And I believe you guys are also doing this for a couple of charities. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So the two charities that we're doing it via a fundraising platform called GiveStar, who I just got off the phone with actually. And we're going to be looking into how we can raise as much money as possible via their platform for two charities, which are the running charity and WaterAid. The running charity, Russ actually has worked with for a number of years now as an adventure leader. So basically he takes young people who struggle with addiction, homelessness, from disadvantaged backgrounds, refugees, and he helps them find sort of confidence and discipline through sporting achievement, and help them slowly change their lives, find housing, find rehabilitation, etc. And it's a great charity. I went and spoke to the people there previously before we left, and it's a really great charity. And do you want to talk about WaterAid?
Yeah, WaterAid is a lot more of a mainstream charity, but we were really keen to do something with the charity that worked within the countries we're going to. It would feel weird for us to travel through Africa without also raising money for charities that work within Africa. But obviously, there's a lot of question marks around certain charitable efforts, and donating money directly to the communities we travel through has lots of ethical question marks around it. So we went with a really well-known, reputable charity in the form of WaterAid, who work in 17 countries in Africa, I think it is, 4 of which are on our route. And they provide sanitation, clean water, and also education to rural communities in Africa and across the world.
That's really good. I mean, I think I saw it in your last video on YouTube as well, where I think, Harry, you gave out like a Red Bull or something to some people who were coming up to the van, and then suddenly you just have so many people kind of rushing the van looking for food and drink.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and this is one of the things is that I try and communicate to people when they talk to us while we're out here, is that there's the dual objectives, is that number one, Russ is trying to do this thing, we're trying to make a film, but also we want the mission to have a little bit more of soul and depth to it than just a money making operation and for some guy to be in the record books, which is great as well. And so when people show up, we show up, and we've currently got a police escort. There's natural question marks about who are these lads here, with all of these resources. And I try and explain to them that, we're trying to raise money to help communities that need
and awareness.
Water. And awareness as well. And it's tough because, out here, depending on which part of the country you're in, there are people suffering. They don't have access to clean water. In Kunene, which is a southern province north of the Namibian border, people are living next to stagnant water, and they're drinking and bathing in it. And other parts of the country, they've got great plumbing and great facilities. But the idea is that if we can help some of these rural communities in whatever small way that it might be, and it is small, we're only 4 blokes at the end of the day, but we'll do our best to leave a positive impact rather than a negative one. Absolutely.
And also try show through our platforms what these countries are actually about, that it's not just about horrible living circumstances and robberies and stuff like that. We try get the local drinks, get the local food, do things that you would only see in local little villages, so we can show people what the actual culture is.
I think there's a big kind of the Western view of Africa as a whole continent is people living in mud huts in the savannah, right? That's what's drilled into us, especially even ironically by charitable efforts, because that's the thing that touched our heartstrings the most. So one thing that's really important to us with this mission is to show as much of the truth about the countries that we're going through as possible, and just help educate people on what Africa's really like, as opposed to all the stereotypes.
There's beautiful architecture, there's history. You know, we've arrived to Mbanza, Congo now, which is the historic capital of the Kingdom of the Congo, which is one of the largest pre-colonial empires. There's churches and museums, you know, UNESCO World Heritage Sites here. This place has hundreds and hundreds of years of history. So we want to focus on that kind of stuff as well, and show as much of that as possible.
No, that's really great to hear, and raising all this awareness that you guys are doing and only going to continue to do as well, only really serves well, say for Russ's efforts, your own efforts, and hopefully this raises lots of money for the charities like Water Aid in particular. What kind of money? Yeah, how much have you kind of raised so far? Do you know?
We're currently on, I think, about £45,000.
I think it's 43, but thereabouts.
Yeah.
Closing in on 45,000.
I mean, that's still such an amazing effort already, just for kind of a small period of time when you look at the grand scheme of things. No, really good effort, guys. Well done.
Thank you. We'd like to put a few more things in place as well. I just got off the phone with Givestar before we jumped on this interview, and you know, one of the things we spoke about is what other small drives and competitions and fundraisers can we run alongside the regularly scheduled content, so that we might be able to up that even more. You know, the official target's 100,000, but you know, as with everyone on this mission, you know, we're not setting our sights just there. You know, we would like to take it to the moon and back. So we're going to keep pushing, and hopefully that 100,000 will be knocked out of the way in no time at all, and we can look even higher.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe you can get some kind of like, I don't know if it's possible, but combine maybe with Strava, get like a community 5K or something, kind of going, where maybe you can kind of say £5 entry and such, you know, and maybe there'll be a way of getting like a digital leaderboard or something for times. I don't know how it all works, but maybe that's something, because obviously with the running and stuff, maybe there's a way of combining it all together.
I think so.
Yeah, we've got sort of similar plans to that in the works at the moment. Can't say too much, but definitely we're looking to push the boat out with the fundraisers that are on for sure.
Yeah, Russ runs, we figure it out.
Yeah,
absolutely. And his running.
Yeah, we're not only filmmakers. Yeah.
And he's running like say 60 kilometers kind of a day, isn't he? That's kind of his average.
Yeah, on average, definitely. Obviously, with logistical issues recently, it's been a little less, but that's the goal every day, is 60k at the moment, and he's looking to up it even more than that in the future. Yeah.
He's going to run 100k day soon enough.
Hopefully Sunday. We're hoping Sunday will be 100 kilometers for day 100.
Yeah, that's his plan. He's backed himself into a corner. The thing with Russ is, if you say, I bet you can't do this, he'll go, yeah, I can. And then he'll do it.
I mean, I think it was the other day. I think it was the other day. Like he ran like his 60k in like 5 hours or something. Absolutely smashed it with that kind of time.
5:52.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, so I actually believe he could do 100k easily in a day if he's putting in performances like that, and he's only just getting stronger from this whole experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's at the moment, because of the whole break we had to take for going back for visas and stuff to Windhoek, he's still getting back into the swing of things, and like it is a little bit touch and go on the actual on his body. So we are trying to figure it out, and he's working on it. But I think by Sunday we'll be on for the 100, even if it means he only gets the 35 on it in the next day.
So as you guys are obviously like the filmmakers and photographers on the journey, obviously something we haven't kind of covered just yet in the interview, how much kind of time are you spending making the different content? Like how much, like what are your kind of storage options? Are you using like cloud-based services or just loads of, say, hard drives, terabytes of data?
Terabytes a day.
Terabytes. Do you want to talk about data, and then I'll talk about like the editing process?
I mean, don't get me started on data. We've had a bad day for data.
We have had a horrible day for
data. I've just been sitting with data recovery software for about 24 hours.
But we don't video prepared successfully.
Yeah. So I'm generally the DIT here on team, and you know, it's generally a daily process. However, sometimes with other things like washing dishes, talking to police, organizing, whatever else it might be, editing photos. Me and Jared, we share that burden depending on who shot what on any given day. Jared's also got to cook, and we've got to clean, and there's so much, prepare a bath for Russ. There's so much that goes on that sometimes DIT falls to the wayside, which he shouldn't. But yeah, so we've gone through. We have an A and a B drive for every, and that normally gets filled up after about 3 weeks. I'd say every 3 weeks we go through a 2 terabyte drive, and we're using Lacey's at the moment. And yeah, basically some of them are only formatted for Microsoft, and some of them are only formatted
it's worth saying, I think, at this point, that like we have the most bare bones data set we could possibly have, because when we started the mission, we literally had no money to buy drives with. So we had to do a big thing where we went around with our mates and got drives off them. It's super patched together.
We've got a super patchy set of SDs. We are doing the unholiest thing we can possibly do, and we're even sometimes shooting on micro SDs in adapters.
Yeah.
In like the GH5
Oh, yeah.
We know what we're doing. Don't speak to us about it. No more questions.
Sandisk, if you watch this video, hook up with the guys.
Yeah,
please send us sponsorship. we need 256.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge to maintain it, and also due to the limited number of drives, we've sent 2 sets of drives now back to the UK to a secure location where they can be managed and backed up, and people can start to look at those files.
Those rushes.
Yeah, and like Jared said, the rushes. So it's a process, and we're gonna need to continually revise it, but also invest in more drives and more SDs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
In terms of the editing process, so we're uploading twice a week to YouTube alongside all our reels and everything else that goes on at the socials, which means for me it's a 3-day editing process per video, which is super tight. Generally speaking, Jared can talk more about this in a minute, but generally speaking, we're all in the van shooting and sorting all day, or most of the day, and then we get back. Russ finishes running about 6 o'clock, and then we'll head to whatever campsite or hotel we're staying in that night, and then I'll bang out 6, 7, 8 hours of editing on the evening. But it's always a rush. I don't think we've ever uploaded a video that hasn't been like done more than an hour before upload.
Yeah,
I think we've had one,
maybe one
of all of them. We've actually,
we did the day we got robbed.
The day we got robbed. Yeah.
Finished nice early. We've also driven for 2 hours to find the nearest cell tower. I stood on top of the van.
Yeah,
I physically raised it in the phone in the air so that we could get a tent.
It's funny you mentioned cloud storage, because we would love cloud storage, but
we'd love for it to function. But
we are in discussions though with someone that we've been talking to recently who might be helping us out with satellite internet.
That would be lovely.
Which is literally going to change our entire game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would that be like
in the meantime,
Starlink situation?
Carry on about everything. Yeah, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, Starlink doesn't reach most of Africa yet, but it's a similar sort of provider. Yeah.
But we do all drive around with like speed test on our phone.
Constantly.
Just constantly, okay, who's got the best upload? Who's got the best download? Okay, we're hotspotting from your phone.
I suppose that's where you could just do your hashtag science.
Hashtag science, yeah.
Exactly. Also get to go through about 100 of these every day, which are the top up pay as you go internet cards, which you can only do at 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte at most.
2 gigabyte if you find 2 gigs
if
at
you
a time.
You've got a 2 gig card lying around on the floor.
Angola is a beautiful country, but its internet is not great.
Yeah, so
and you can't buy online. You have to buy the physical cards.
You can buy online if you have an Angolan bank account.
Which we don't.
So we hunt for roadside stores that have the orange Unitel logo, and then we go and buy them out. So like we'll go into a place and rinse them of all the gigabytes that they have,
which is normally about 5 to 15.
Yeah, normally about 5 to 15.
And are
No,
they going to
the
work
cloud-
like in your kind of next countries along, or are you going to have to find different solutions for each country that you visit? Like obviously next up you're in the DRC, isn't it?
Yeah, every country is a different SIM card.
We do check, we check all the way up. We kind of have a basic idea of coverage maps of like what SIMs to buy, who to use, where we will and won't have coverage, but they are highly unreliable. We've driven through areas where we've had full LTE, like 7 meg up, 3 meg down kind of thing, but it says on the map that there's nothing there.
I love you use those numbers like they're impressive, but they're
Yeah.
terrible.
No,
they're great.
That's like, it's great. Yeah, that is fantastic. Anything more than 1.5, like up down, that's banger.
But also, for example, right? So, DRC, we're going to spend all of 3 days in the DRC. So that might be a situation where we'll use an eSIM. But if we're going to be in the Republic of Congo for 3 weeks, then as soon as we cross the border, we'll start looking for a place to buy a SIM card, be it like a petrol station, a pharmacy, or a supermarket. So we're going to be on the hunt for SIM cards in any of the countries where we spend a number of weeks, really.
But yeah, so back onto the topic of actually shooting. So we've kind of we're kind of nailed our rotation at this point. I mean, there's some days where we're still all like a little bit lost. But so the most basic, Harry and I both shoot photo. That's, as you said, like we'll edit photos based on kind of who shot more that day or just who's feeling up to the edit. Editing content and pushing it out every day, even if it's only 10 to 15 shots. Yeah. It is like, it becomes draining, you know, we've made presets, but like last night, our laptop just decided to stop your presets and it deleted all of them. So, you know, and we're sharing one laptop off. Then shooting wise, Stan's more in charge of the YouTube stuff. I look more at the docky stuff that's to come, and Harry's focused a lot more on the drone stuff and everything in between. Yeah. So like if I'm driving the van, and Stan's taking a nap or somewhere editing because he's edited all night.
Taking a nap.
Yeah, well, taking a nap because you edited all night.
Yeah, fair.
Harry will stand at the window, grab some photos, grab some video, and then I will, as I'm driving, I'll be like, oh, Harry, dude, punch in, give me some leg shots in like 100 frames, give me this as well. So we'll constantly be discussing what we want. And then before stop, after stop, we always, okay, who wants to shoot photos, who wants to shoot videos, let's get going. Since the robbery, it's been a little bit more tricky because we did used to have a GH5S and a GH5 both on Viltrox setups because we shoot everything in log and my Canon 5D Mark IV for the photos. Now we have one GH5S that has log and one GH5 that has no log. And we don't see the point of shooting on the cam if we don't have log. So we're trying to sort the log issue on that camera. It was a third backup cam. So we're still like floating now. We just got a new Viltrox in so we can start using lenses again. But we are literally, between the three of us, photo and video, we're currently all running off of my lenses because Stan's lenses got stolen. And we only have really small micro four thirds primes. And this kind of run and gun stuff, we can't be shooting on primes, you know, shooting on a 20mm prime when you're trying to like get Russ chatting and then Russ running away.
Yeah, and he does just run away.
He does just run away. He'll just, okay, bye boys. And then watch on and he goes, this is the marker for I'm done talking to you.
Yeah,
so
just like bang, let me just change some lenses.
Yeah. So at the moment, we're literally living off of a Canon 1635 L2, the 2.8, that recently we accidentally bent the threads. So I bent the thread. I forced an 82 to 77 step down ring back in to shove the grid back to how it was. But now we can't shoot full 16 anymore because we're getting vignette. So we're dealing as we can. And then we have a 70 to 200 Mach 2 Canon L as well. And then we've got a Canon or a Sigma 85 Art.
We've got 30.
And the 35 Art. And then we've got not even a Samyang. If Samyang had a Wish equivalent, 24mm, like a mechanical prime.
So to summarize, we're scrounging.
It's pure chaos. I mean, we do the best work that we could possibly do with the limited tools that we've got. I mean, a lot of the drone footage that you've seen over the last weeks was shot on a Mini 2. Yeah. I mean, maybe not necessarily documentary quality, but thankfully we've got a Mavic Air 2 now.
Which, interestingly, sorry, interestingly, is the first drone we used that then got shot down in the Cayman Islands.
In Canary Islands.
Canary Islands.
Got shot out of the sky by the Spanish military.
And is now also our third drone because it got fixed.
Because I remember discussing it with Harry the other week and just saying like the battery kind of expanded in it and then kind of fell out while in flight. And then there was
that was a separate drone as well. So we've been through a bunch of drones.
Technically on the project, 4 drones have gone.
Yeah.
But one of them we've got fixed.
Yeah. And we'll say that, you know, one of those was my fault.
Yeah, but only one, in fact.
And while that drone fell out the sky, I was back in South Africa and I had organized 3 more batteries for that drone. Then we got the new drone. So I had organized a whole set of ND filters for that drone as well. So now we've just got a bunch of useless kits sitting around.
Yeah.
We don't actually use and can't use.
I'm sure it's all going to come into fruition at some point because you're probably going to just pick up gear along the journey at all kinds of times, especially maybe if Harry maybe loses another drone in a minefield in Angola or something.
Yeah.
Almost.
We've asked him to wait at least till Cameroon before he loses another drone.
Yeah. See if you can hold off the edge to crash.
The thing is, right? The thing is the Mini 2 had 0 obstacle avoidance, which is fun.
What about these little things here?
When it's a kilometre and a half away, it's tricky. But also, you know, wind speeds pick up and your 15% battery rapidly becomes 5% battery. And then you go hunting with a machete in a minefield with 3 Angolan kids showing you the way through the minefield.
I think we paid them in lollipop as well to say thank you.
I paid them in real money.
Oh, did you?
I didn't die in a minefield. We got the drone back, so they deserved a bit of cash.
Yeah.
And then they tried to sell us a goat that day.
Okay.
Yeah, for 20,000 kwanza, which is equivalent for £20.
20 quid, yeah, they were going to sell us a goat for 20 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should buy the goat. There's nothing wrong with having a goat. My wife wants to have a goat for the garden, so
Shove
it over.
We can live vicariously through you, Greg.
We'd love the goat, but we live in a van.
Yeah, if we had a trailer, we'd have a goat already.
We did speak about how we would keep our goats. One of the ideas was tie him to the back of the van when we drive. The other was buy him a little skateboard that we can connect. The third, probably the most logical, would keep him inside the van and let him out when we stop. But that's not great for content, especially people content.
I bet. But you've obviously alluded to it already a couple of times so far in this call, but obviously you did a few weeks ago have obviously a very horrible experience with a robbery. Do you want to tell us all kind of what happened there, you know, what was taken and kind of what's happened since, really?
Yeah, so it's myself and Jared. So Stan was back in the hotel. This is in Benguela, which is a city located halfway up the country of Angola, and it's on the coast. And we'd arrived
beautiful city as well, like genuinely beautiful city. Not as big as Luanda, but what do they say? 1 million people odd in the town.
About 1 million. Yeah.
About 1 million. It's decently sized. It's also a very peaceful place. Generally.
Yeah, I mean it's nice tropical vibes, great architecture, music in the streets, like the smell of the sea air for the first time. Like we'd all sort of unwinded a little bit, and the next day Russ was due to run into the city, and for once he did 30 kilometers instead of 25. So we stopped on the edge of the city, on the outskirts, around 2 p.m. Next to the highway, with, you know, a significant amount of people around in line of sight. And Jared parked do you want to explain how you parked the van up?
Yeah, so I mean, we came up this road and it's like industrial area where they're building a lot of things. So I saw this wall, and like people speak of liquid gold being water and anything like that being described as gold, you know, like something that's perfect for them. For us, our gold is shade.
Okay.
Finding shade, there can be a 15-degree difference in like where we are from shade to sun, and the van is a solid baking, just an oven.
It's an oven.
So we were driving. Russ was actually a little bit ahead, or just where he was about to be, like perfectly. Saw him, so I pulled off the road and I saw, there's this wall here. It's high enough that it's almost the height of the van, and it will cast shadow. We can sit between the van and the wall. We're secluded enough that anyone from the road won't see what we're doing sitting around here with cameras shooting each other and chatting mash. But we're close enough to the road that we'll be safe. Hi, Russ.
Hello.
I was,
Yeah. So we pulled up. I pulled up around the floor, and I parked with about 1.5 meter gap between the van and the wall, so we could have the shade. And then we didn't even end up going, like sitting in the shade. I remember saying to Russ, "There's a petty station up the road about 1 kilometer. Do you want to go there, get a cold water, get a Coke or something, and we can just chill, and then we'll drive you back?" And he said no, because it's like that 5 minutes that he's sitting in a car moving, he could rather be getting ready to go again. He doesn't need to get like, okay, cool, let's go. Okay, we drive back, then get out. It's just, he's all about efficiency. So we ended up staying there. So it was a day of things that were different, unintentionally, but that way, 30 kilometers, park next to the wall, deciding not to move. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a series of events that went wrong, but also a few that went right along the way in the moment. I mean, the guys, they pulled up behind us, 3 of them on a motorbike, and one stayed there, engine running. And the 2 walked up to the door. All 3 of us none the wiser. I'm sat in the driver's seat, Russ behind me, and Jared in the passenger side closest to the door at a 90-degree angle. And the door opens, and and the gun, a 9mm handgun comes through the door, and there's two lads.
One of those first.
a little, one of those just to show off. And he tells me in Portuguese, "Danos tudo," which means give us everything.
yeah.
And I was like, okay. My Portuguese is a bit rusty, but yeah, I know what that means. And yeah, they were noticeably
Erratic.
Yeah, a bit erratic, sort of almost nervous, even given the situation where they've got all the power and all the control.
But I mean, as they came in, one of the moments that we realized that they were nervous about what they were doing is when I saw the gun come to the door, I put my hands up like this, and he moved the gun to me when he saw what I was doing, and he like showed me the gun to say like hands down. So they clearly didn't want anyone else to know what they were doing or see what they were doing.
Yeah, but they were hidden. They were hidden by the van, and they were hidden by the wall on the other side.
And the door of the van open as well.
Yeah, the door of the van opens. There's maybe like a 5-degree angle where people would have actually seen what was going on. And we've got tinted windows, etc., etc. So we'd parked perfectly for us to relax in the shade and didn't use the shade, but also perfectly for them to go about their business unseen. And the first thing they did was grab Stan's camera.
Yeah, that was sitting next to me on my left. So I was in the chair. There's a chair next to me, and we use that chair as like a quick camera in, camera out space. And like if we have some energy drinks or whatever that we need, we just want to grab little bits, so we can come in and out the van. If we pop an ND off, we'll pop an ND on that chair, kind of thing,
Yeah.
They saw the camera. It was a nice setup. It was a GH5 with a Sony Sigma Art 18-35 and a nice bushy dead cat on a top Rode Go Mic Pro.
My dream camera that I spent 5 years saving up for.
Yeah, with a shaped cage and a shaped handle. So it looked impressive. So that was the first thing they grabbed. And then they proceeded to grab the drone, which is in a bag underneath my legs as well. And like, you don't want to grab something and pull back because they've got a gun. You let the man take what he wants. They started screaming at Harry, at us in Portuguese at least, and we kind of just got the gist of it, of saying like, where are the valuables? And I had a box between my leg, and this box was both the best thing to give someone and the worst thing to give someone.
I'm trying to communicate with them in the moment, gun in face, about trying to make them, if we've got more cameras in the back, they want everything that we've got, and we're trying to damage limitation. So they've taken the cameras, and they've got this box on the floor, and I tell them, that's got all of our money in there. I knew there was money, and I knew there was Stan's wallet, so that if they opened that, they'd feel like they won the jackpot. and that they wouldn't take anything else. The big problem being that there was 3 passports.
3 backup passports. Yeah. So all of us had 2 passports for this exact reason. We do also, like, I have my passport number tattooed on my wrist. Russ has the same. Harry's remembered his. I have a horrible memory. They've remembered theirs. But we all had 2 passports, a main and a backup. One, so we are traveling through 16 countries. We need visas. Some African countries are quite cheeky and they give you a visa on one page, a stamp on the other page, and then flip the other page over and make it unusable. So it's like you need quite a few pages. So we had that, and for security. If we get something stolen from us, at least we still have some form of an identity in an African country. So yeah, they got myself, Stan, Russ, and we thought Harry's passport, but Harry, for some unbeknownst reason, decided to take his out at some point and move it.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad. At least we still had our passports with our Angolan stamps in, and the visas for the boys. I'm South African, so I don't need a visa to get into Angola.
Yeah.
So we weren't chucked out of the country. But Russ now lost his DRC and Republic of Congo visas.
It's a challenge. I mean, it's one of those things, and they explained to me very clearly they wanted to march all 3 of us out the van. And if we'd left the van, number one, they could have left us roadside, but they would have found the cameras in the back, whatever other money we had. As it stands, what they took from us, we've almost recovered it again in value. The passports is a long process that we might not recover, but we've recovered the visas. We've got a drone back. We've got Viltrox, so we can shoot on another camera. Okay, we don't have log, but we've recovered the situation enough to the point where, that limited the damage in that moment. One example of this as well is that when Russ stood up to search for his phone, because when they were done with all of that, they wanted phones next. They moved the gun onto Russ. And Jared shoved him back in his chair to try and save his life. And in that moment, I was able to swap out my old phone, iPhone 6, that was basically an iPod with music and TV on it. It's for my new phone, which I had in my pocket. So I was able to give them an old, useless phone. But Jared...
Yeah, they took my phone straight off my lap and decided, well, that's for you. They left my nicotine, though. They left my vape on my lap, so that's okay. I needed it straight after that. Quit shortly after anyway. But yeah, they grabbed my phone, grabbed Harry's phone. Russ just simply said to them, I don't have a phone, and they accepted that. They were in such a panicked state at that point that they just went, we'll take what we can get and get going. Because they knew what they were doing.
Done it many times before or something like that, maybe with such erratic behavior.
Yeah, I mean, what they said to us, what just happened? Oh, sorry. Russ is trying to make dinner here, but he's causing more harm than good. Can you just not eat, Russ? Anyway, so when we got to the police station, they said to us, like, gun crime in Benguela is not normal. Normally it's with a machete or a knife or something like that. And then after about 20, 30 minutes of us being at the police station, a young kid arrived. He must have been 16, 17. And he was forcefully taken off his motorbike that day at gunpoint as well. So they said 2 gun crimes in one day in Benguela. It's the same person, 100%. So it was just an unfortunate day that there was a man running around Benguela with a gun and looking for some quick cash. Angola is a hungry country at the moment. There are certain areas of Angola as well that are hungrier than others. There's extreme wealth in Luanda, and there's extreme poverty in the rural sections of Angola. And so we understand why they would have done what they did. It's just, for lack of a better word, shit that we were on the opposite side of the stick.
Yeah,
but we escaped with our lives.
Yeah.
Go on, Greg.
I mean, obviously, you are all still here, but obviously, things that have been stolen can be replaced. as somebody who's kind of
Definitely.
come from a position of PTSD, like I suffer with PTSD myself, how are you guys feeling? Like, how are all four of you feeling from this kind of experience, and what has it kind of what have you learned from it?
You want to go first?
So yeah,
Your personal experience.
yeah. I mean, I was also, when I was a lot younger, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. So I'm still working with that constantly, and it wasn't a great 2 or 3 days afterwards. It was 2 or 3 days of dealing with it really intrinsically, but simultaneously, at least I could deal with it with people around me. There is definitively, like, I'm gonna have to see a therapist after this and chat for a little while, but it's okay. That's only in a year's time. I can figure out that money later. But like every now and then, I'll hear the door click the way that it clicked open that day, and I will have a little bit of a skirk. And like the other day, sorry, skirk, a little fright. The other day, Harry knocked on the window, and I couldn't see his face because he was behind the A-pillar of the window. And he then opened the door and came in. And I was like, Harry, if you do that again, I'm going to smack you. I have to see who's through the window now. And when we do sit still anywhere, I'm constantly checking mirrors. I often keep the car running. Unfortunately, the way we approach situations have changed a lot. Like, it's we have to kind of get comfortable rather than arrive and be comfortable. And it's not Angola by any means. It's one sour fruit in the entire bunch.
Yeah,
It's
such a shame, isn't it?
It's really difficult. I do a lot of communicating here as the translator, and for the normally I'm very extroverted. I'm the first person to walk into a room of strangers and bowl straight up to the group of them and start chatting. Even if it's my fourth language. And that's the way that things had been. We found it very natural and easy to make connections and conversations and chat to people throughout. And for a couple of days after that, it was tough. I felt a little bit jaded and a little bit bitter, and I didn't want to go into every conversation, with a wall up, because that's not how you connect with people. But slowly but surely, we've definitely found a way to reverse that. I spent 2 good weeks in Luanda speaking to so many good people and making so many good connections that I feel like it almost doesn't affect me now to this point. But it's also about being wise and understanding situations and how quickly a situation can change. We were outside of Porto Amboim, and we gave there was a crowd had gathered, and the police had stayed with us, but they'd left to escort Russ. And I'd given a drink to a boy I'd been chatting to for about an hour, and the van was very quickly rushed by 30 people. And and those situations get intense very quickly, and the people are hungry, they have needs, etc. It's very difficult to be at the front of those conversations and manage the atmosphere, if you will, of the interaction. But we've done pretty well since then. The help of the police has been phenomenal. We generally feel more secure on a day-to-day basis with them being there. And
we've had a lot of help from a lot of other Angolans as well. This made in national news in Angola, and loads of people reached out to us, like more than you could ever expect, really. There, a wonderful man called Rui, a wonderful woman called Henda, just to name a couple.
People that didn't know us from a bar of soap either.
Yeah, who reached out to us with all these amazing things: hotels for the night, fundraisers that they'd done to replace stolen cash,
logistical help,
food, security help, all of these things which we never asked for. We never would ask for.
No.
But it really shows the kind of there's an amazing national spirit within Angola, despite all of the many issues that it does have.
We're quite cowboy. So when anyone does offer help, we're always like a little bit reluctant at first, but every time someone has given us help, they've given us more help than we will ever be able to repay.
Yeah.
And we've had the conversation multiple times. We're like, do they want something in return? And it's beautiful because 99% of the time we've come to the conclusion they just want to help.
Yeah.
And that is awesome.
It's
That
been
is
great.
so beautiful. Like African hospitality and the African heart is amazing. You know, I mean, we were set up with amazing two guys in Luanda, Bruno and Jefferson, and to stay at their house. And every time we offered them money to pay for food or to buy a takeaway from them, Jefferson would, like, very jokingly but very seriously say, "Let me look if we have ingredients for lasagna," and stand up and walk away. And then food was just presented to us 3 times a day. We'd be sitting in the room editing or just sleeping or doing something, and then, oh, lunch is ready. You know, these people never expected anything from us in return but a nice hug and a obrigado when we were ready to leave.
Yeah.
It's whatever sort of trauma or PTSD, you know, I'm pretty relaxed with the situation now. I feel like I've unwinded, and through the connections that we've made since then, I feel more comfortable every day talking to the people in the street. And it's a repeat experience for me. I've been held at gunpoint a number of times, and I don't feel like it sits with me, but that's because I've done the work to reconnect with the country before leaving. So had everything gone south in Benguela and I'd left the next day, I think that would have sat with me forever. But we've had so many good people.
So much redemption.
Yeah, basically. And I think that's what made all the difference. So now I find it easier than I did the day after the robbery. You know, it doesn't sit with me as much.
And I'll be back to Angola.
Yeah,
Harry
likewise.
also says he wants to come back to Angola.
Likewise, yeah, definitely.
I mean, that sounds amazing, because I think you really hit the nail on the head there, that despite, you know, those couple of moments of desperation, there's been so much generosity that has come your way, maybe from some people who don't have a lot, maybe from some local business owners and, you know, from communities as a whole, but they're all coming together to support you. And now you've got the support of the police, obviously supporting you guys, and Russ as well. And it's just amazing to see. And hopefully with the media kind of going out there and covering this story, obviously this story, like my chat with you guys, going on F-Stoppers, so many different communities are going to be reached by this, whether it's a photography community, filmmakers, runners, or people who've been through similar situations. So I think you guys are really going about things completely the right way, and you guys should be so proud.
Cheers, Greg. It means a lot. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, you know, one thing I certainly get from your videos, like all 4 of you, is like the camaraderie that I see. You know, you guys are still, you know, Jared just making your dad jokes.
Yeah.
I'll be famous for them one day.
Yeah. But, you know, just the attitude you guys are having, you know, you're all young guys, you're going on this amazing kind of journey experience, which, say, nobody has done this before, what Russ is doing and what you guys are helping to achieve. And to be, say, 100 days in, and you guys are just smashing it. So, and no matter what life is being thrown at you, you've had breakdowns, you've obviously had robbery, you've had Russ pissing blood and kind of all sorts, but you're doing it, you're getting through it.
I think there's the main thing that really does keep us all together is the extreme sense of pride that we have in what we're doing.
Agreed.
This wouldn't be done. It takes a very specific group of people, a very specific breed of person to do this. But the one thing we all share in common that really drives us through is the will to do something that no one's done before in a way that does it justice. Yeah. You know, tell the story and show people these places, these people, Russ, everything that we're going through constantly, to tell that as well as we possibly can, and to do it as much justice and have fun all the way through as well, and not let little things ruin the future experience. We still have 7 months to go. Yeah. If we all sit and mope in the pain of what's happened, we won't get through the next 7 months.
Well, that's a really interesting point, to be fair, because like what we have to do to make this successful is very conflicting. We have to simultaneously be complacent and accepting of everything that goes wrong that's outside of our control, which is constant. You know, it's like 5-6 times a day something minor or maybe major goes wrong, and we have to go, okay, and just get on with it. But
the game is the game.
Just
The
get
game's
it off
the
the
game, but at the
shoulder
same
and just
time,
crack on.
we can't have that same attitude towards the things that are in our control. We have to have a ferocious way of attacking the things that are in our control to make this project as best as it possibly can be. And that's quite a weird thing to have, to really, really care and also not care at all when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember you can sleep when it's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not right now.
Not right now, but like we all often go into the conversation of, what are you going to do when you get home?
Bed.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you get home? If you could have one off day, what would you be doing?
Bed.
What is the meal that you would have when you get home?
I would be eating after going to bed.
Oh, that's how
tequila's
good
in
a
a nap.
movie is waiting.
I'm thinking of bar till 7 a.m.
I don't drink. I'm going to sit in my room, drink water, and watch a movie.
I'm thinking tropical bar till 7 a.m. with some tequila.
You're a beautiful woman.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh,
Go to
gosh.
sunrise, sing
So-
them, have a bit of karaoke.
So obviously, I saw like Russ was missing his Tesco meal deal, which he got. What are you three guys missing from your homes?
Try to start.
Yeah, start Stan.
Everything kind of goes out your head. Like, obviously, I miss my friends and family, but the one thing I can't stop thinking about is Chinese takeaway. I've mentioned it a lot.
You mentioned it a lot.
I mentioned it a lot, but I'm one of those people where if I get a craving in that, it won't go away until I've had the food.
Yeah.
I've been craving crispy chili beef, special fried rice, sweet and pepper chicken, salt and pepper chicken, and prawn toast for a long time.
3 months.
And that will not go away
Yeah.
until I finish this mission.
We've spoken about this probably about 4 times
Yeah.
on camera and podcast.
Yeah, it's gonna taste so good though.
What about you, Jared? Is yours also food related?
No, I'm a big family man, and I genuinely miss my family. I'm one of 4 brothers. I'm very close to my brothers, my family, my parents. You know, we have a menagerie of animals at home, cats and dogs, and I have pet rats and a tortoise. And I miss sitting with my family, with all the cats draped over us, that purring feeling on your lap, and having a good old braai, which is a South African barbecue. You know, we have a saying in South Africa, "Ons gaan nou braai," which means we're going to braai now. And that statement is normally made at 11:30 at night, because the braai isn't about eating the food. It's about talking to your friends and bonding again with your family and your mates, and like just coming together for a change and giving up on the rest of your life. And time isn't of the essence. Where here, time is always of the essence. I just want that moment where I can take a deep breath and fall into a camping chair that isn't coming apart at the seams. Where ours are all destroyed at this point.
What about you, Harry?
Hanging on by a thread, those camping chairs. For me, there's a dish that it's somewhat food related, somewhat family related. There's a dish that my partner's mother makes, which is a Mexican soup dish. And every time I go back to Mexico, it's always there, ready, waiting for me. 30 people in the house, aunties, uncles, grandparents, cousins, nephews, nieces. Everyone's there, you know, to welcome me back. And there's always a hot bowl of soup on the table. And, you know, we'll eat the meal together. We'll listen to some great Mexican music, and we'll drink tequila until 3 a.m. and chat shit. And yeah, that's basically, you know, that's what I miss. You know, I miss my family back in the UK as well, but it's easy. You know, I've spent time away from them before without, you know, much trouble. Sorry, mum. Sorry, dad. But I miss my partner, and I miss Mexico, and I miss the food. Yeah, and also just chatting mash until 3 a.m. with a bottle of tequila and some good food.
And for a group, we all miss it. We all miss Macca's.
Yeah, Macca's.
It's heavily food related, but what can you do?
You know, the next McDonald's is in Mauritania. We have
Way
like
away.
we have
It's a
like
long way.
12,000 kilometers to go before we can have a Mackey's cheeseburger or a nugget.
It's every on McDonald's
Apparently,
in Nouakchott,
in Mauritania,
in
yeah.
the capital in Nouakchott. Okay.
So we
Hopefully,
have
the next
something to get
influencer
through
you
this
have
for.
brings one.
Will do.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to flick my light on because I'm obviously getting very dark over here.
Yeah. Of course. No worries.
Imagine the sun not setting at 5 p.m.
Yeah, how wild is that, hey?
Angola's time zone is weird. They've kept it with West African time so that they're linked with the people to the big economies north and west of them. But what that means is in winter here, we're 6 degrees south of the equator, which makes it about 1,000 kilometers to the equator, but still the sun sets at 5:30, which is six at the latest.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys over there in the UK at the moment, you're talking 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
must be nice.
No, it's 9:05. I'm in South Scotland, and I mean, it hasn't stopped raining for like the whole of July.
It's
like 15 degrees during the day, which is terrible for July.
Yeah, what did you say the humidity was today, Russ? 74?
Yeah.
74% humidity here today, and a high of 28 degrees with a low of 17.
It's hot.
See, my wife would be straight there. She'd be loving it. Whereas me, I'm more of a cold temperature kind of guy. Like my favorite country is Iceland.
We're terrible for this mission.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in Canada.
I like dry heat, like desert.
Yeah, I can deal with that.
Great.
Wet heat is just brutal.
You'd
take
be
a
right
shower
in
in
like
like
Las Vegas or something like Death Valley. You'd be fine over there.
Yeah, Las Vegas, Death Valley will do me just fine.
No, you wake up here after taking a shower in the evening, and you wake up like sticking to the sheets and sticking to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite funny. I've been to Death Valley like a few times now, and you actually see people like jogging through there, and I always think, oh, they're crazy. But now I see what Russ is doing, say running for Africa. Fair enough.
Yeah. I think that's the main shocker when people are like, he's running all the way through the heat.
I love it when I tell the locals, like we could be in a small village. I don't know if you saw today's stand, but we could be in a small village, and I'll chat to the people because they're curious, and they're like, what's this lad doing running? And I explain to them the project and what's going on, and their face and their reaction when they're like, oh, so he's on a bicycle, or oh, so you guys are driving on. No, he's running, and they're like, and like just some of the mixed reactions we get. We're gonna have to try harder to like get their live reaction on.
But then occasionally though, and these actually make me laugh more. Occasionally, you just get someone being like, "Oh, okay, that's cool."
Yeah, cool. And they don't fathom it until later in your conversation when you say, "Yeah, it's like 15,000 kilometers or something," and they go,
"Hang on,
wait, what?"
Hang on a second.
You can see the mathematics hitting their eyes, and they're like, "Wait, on feet? What?"
Brilliant. So obviously we've kind of gone over a bit now, but if I was to say, like, if one of you could, or if each of you could pick one of your favorite highlights from this trip so far, what would it be?
Okay, have you guys got one? Because I do.
No.
All right, I'll jump in. There's loads to pick one from, to be honest. But this is mine because it was like the first real moment of togetherness we had with people on a trip. Which is in Windhoek, and we'd spent, God knows, like three weeks really not seeing that many people. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not really seeing that many people in the south of Namibia. Very, very desolate. Not much going on there. And when we were just about to reach Windhoek, which is the capital, we had a guy called Evie reach out and ask if he wanted if his running club could run with Russ through the capital. And anyway, he organized everything, and we ended up gathering about 40 or 50 people together to run with Russ through the capital city.
Police escort.
We had a police escort that they'd organized, and there was just like a genuinely magical feeling of togetherness. And it was also the first moment for us where we'd been living in our bubble, where it was just the four of us in a van. Like, you see the numbers tick up on YouTube or whatever, but that doesn't really have any real world meaning. It's not tangible. You can't touch it. And then we came into the city, and all these people had come out, to support Russ. And it was this moment of like, wow, okay, this is really something that we're doing now. It was beautiful.
And it actually really comes out on the episode as well. I really enjoyed that episode. It's just nice to see such positivity and excitement from everybody wanting to be involved.
Yeah. No, I mean, it still blows me away.
It is amazing. Yeah.
Have you got yours?
I've got one. I think the boys are going to think I'm absolutely insane. But when I flew home to South Africa, within 3 days, I was wanting to come back. I had a wedding to shoot there, and I had some pre-organized like travel that I had to go do. It was all paid for. So when I came back, Harry said to me, "You're going to land at the airport." So first of all, the things start going wrong, and then things start rapidly going downhill in Project Africa. And it's all about not stopping the rolling ball, but throwing yourself in front of it until it stops, and then getting it rolling slowly again where it's controllable. So the night before I was due to fly to Angola, the boys were still in Namibia. So we went, well, that's not going to work. Cancelled my flight to Angola, which was meant to be a flight to Luanda, a 15.5-hour layover, and then a flight to Lubango, which is about 350, 400 km from the border. We cancelled that flight, booked me a flight to Windhoek that evening. The boys were about 650 kilometers from Windhoek. Harry told me there's a car waiting for you with a guy named Jan. I got to the airport. I waited about 3 hours before Jan arrived. Jan eventually arrived. He picked me up. It was in this beaten up like polo, like blue polo he had bought like 7th hand, and he advertised that guys had been with him before. Harry had done long journeys with him back and forth from Windhoek into Windhoek, out of Windhoek, everything. He advertised that he does long journeys. So we were like, this is our man. We worked with him. He picks me up about 3 hours later at the airport, 3.5 hours later. I'd plowed 2 croissants and 3 Cokes by that point, and I was just sitting listening to music. Got picked up, and what was meant to be a 6-hour car journey turned into an 18-odd-hour car journey when, first of all, our petrol tank that he recently had serviced, they hadn't resealed the sensor cup properly, so the car started gushing gas out of it. Then the aircon pump blew because the bearings all seized in it, and it shot our belt off. Our mechanic on the way to us broke down because his car overheated. Eventually, in the car driving to the boys, I was only about 40 kilometers out of Windhoek when all of that had already happened. And then I had to get 6.5 hours more to the boys, but every 35 to 50, 60 Ks, we had to stop and punch the top block off the motor to actually get the air to fuel ratio to run properly. Otherwise, the car wouldn't run past about 1,200 revs. So just this series of events, which eventually landed me meeting the boys. Where I was meant to meet them at like 6 p.m. I met them at 5:30 a.m. When we arrived at the hotel that the boys were at, the people from the hotel had locked the gate to the hotel, so I couldn't even get in. Yeah. It was just this ridiculous series of events, but the thought of constantly being like, I'm finally coming back. I'm finally getting back to the mission. That overwhelming feeling of I get to see the boys who are literally like my brothers at this point, and at that point already, I was so excited. And that's definitely, for me, has become, in hindsight, the best moment. In current moment, the worst moment.
I mean, that's also so typical Project Africa, right? I mean, it's almost hilariously downhill that you kind of just have to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I think my favorite moment so far would probably be I had my sister come out and visit me. I spent 2 weeks with Bruno and Jefferson, our Brazilian friends, and I managed to travel around Luanda and meet businessmen, politicians, artists, musicians, filmmakers, and really built a connection of people there and a community in Luanda, which was beautiful. And that was incredible. I met artists who'd been had their exhibitions in the Louvre or in the Tate, and went to parties until 4 a.m. with random strangers. It was amazing. It was great. All while the boys were suffering, doing logistics. And the cherry on top of the cake was that my sister flew out to see me. It was really nice to see a familiar face. We've got an interesting relationship. She's my twin, so there's always been a bit of infighting, if you will. But it was so good to see her, family there. That she'd come all the way from London.
And who's the better drone pilot?
Ah, wow.
Well, she hasn't crashed the drone yet.
Yeah, that's true.
I had to get that one in.
It's
Sorry.
It's like Harry's a better van driver than Stan, because Stan popped a tire. Harry's never driven the van. So he's still got a better sheet record.
So those would be our favorite.
They're all really, really nice moments to hear, and you know, hopefully they continue along the journey. So just kind of one final question before I kind of let you guys go. For any kind of other young filmmakers, say like yourselves, what kind of advice would you maybe have for them going on journeys like you guys are going on?
I'd probably start with saying, you know, there's a lot of people who shoot well. There's a lot of people who film well, but there's not a lot of people who are made for expeditions like this. You know, there are these transferable skills in mental toughness, resilience, and I'd say, you know, so everyone starts somewhere. No one's born an adventurer. You don't walk out your front door and go to Siberia for 7 months, but challenge yourself to do things you wouldn't do, to shoot content in places you wouldn't usually shoot content, in weather conditions that you wouldn't usually shoot in. You know, put yourself out there with, you know, you have to be a bit sensible and, you know, have backup plans to escape the wilderness, if you will. But even if you live in central London, get out of the city. You know, find a way to put yourself in a challenging environment, and then do the good work that you would have done anyway, and then you're ready to be an adventure filmmaker.
That's great advice. I'd say probably I'm quite passionate about this actually. That I feel like filmmaking is still a very gate-kept industry, and there's a lot of misconceptions about how much money you have to join it. So I just say, you know, I'm entirely self-taught. We are privileged enough in today's society that we have a wealth of knowledge available and a wealth of learning available online. And, you know, almost everything I know that either came from YouTube or it came from practice and trial and error. I started teaching myself at 15, and just exploring it through God knows how many years of absolute shite that I would produce. But eventually, if you stick at it long enough, you can turn it into something where you have genuine talent. And the other thing I would say is that always ask for opportunities. A lot of people are afraid and shy away from asking for opportunities because they feel like, oh, they're not ready, or maybe I'll get rejected. You will get rejected a million times. But like, I wouldn't be in this position if I hadn't cheekily asked people that I had no right to ask for opportunities, and eventually it does just pay off. If you're willing to put yourself out there, it will eventually pay off. It just might take a lot of failure in the process.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, I'm completely different from the two of them because I'm film school taught. I'm not solely film school taught. I taught myself photography, and I've got multiple diplomas in photography from online courses. And if I wanted to know something, I found a video and I went and did it. I praised guys like Peter McKinnon and Casey Neistat and Dan Mace and Matty Hapuya for years, and I studied their work, and I wanted to be like that. You know, I wanted to make that kind of work. And I think the advice that I would give is, film school or not, anyone can become a filmmaker, anyone can become a photographer. But what sets you aside is how you back yourself. Fake it till you make it. Promise, and like Werner Herzog said, promise and overpromise at least, but always deliver. Back yourself harder than anyone will ever back you, and you will get to a place that you can eventually say, I've made it. And I'm only 27, Stan's only 22, Harry's 25 now? 24. We're young guys. Like, we have no right to be making this kind of thing. Like, we are winging it 90% of the time, but we're learning constantly, and we're constantly open to learning and discussing with one another. And all of us have our laurels in different departments, you know, but all of us backed ourselves, believed in ourselves, and put ourselves out there to get the job eventually. And if you do that, people will see that you've done that. You know, I started shooting in television before I had even finished university. I was a senior shooter at a television production company that was massive in South Africa, shot some of the biggest things that I grew up on. And I didn't realize how I got the opportunity until I realized, well, I backed myself harder than anyone's ever backed me.
Yeah. You got,
and also work hard and
work hard, be good.
yeah.
Work harder, be better. You know, like this entire industry is an exact representation of the amount of hours you've put in. If you put in 10,000 hours learning how to be the best handheld shooter, you will be the best handheld shooter.
It's a cliche, but it is 100% true.
It is.
Film, I think.
Hours in filmmaking and photography is your success.
Yeah. Absolutely spot on. And you're never too late to start either. As you say, you guys are young lads still. I've picked up my first camera when I was 30. I'm 36 now, and still kind of shooting away, whether it's weddings or wildlife and other bits and pieces as well. So, and traveling to
that's the thing about being able to teach yourself it is that doesn't have to start when you're a kid. It can start at any time. As long as you put the hours in, you'll reach the point you want to get to. Do you know what I mean?
Shoot everything.
Yeah, dude.
Never say no. If someone's like, shoot that ad, you shoot that ad. If someone says you want to shoot a wedding, you go, how many times do I have to shoot it? Like,
I think the only
what do I need to do?
I think the only downside is when I have to like say to my wife, honey, can I borrow like $1,000 to buy a new macro lens?
Yeah, I get that. That's why I'm single. I only have to ask myself and my bank for permission.
That's it. Just stay like that, Jared. Honest to God.
God.
Please find me a wife, guys.
I'm sure my wife's going to watch this back later on. She's going to be, yeah, you little. But guys, thank you so much for agreeing to come on this chat with me and go through the highs and the lows of your adventure, and obviously with what Russ is doing as well for charity, and also to create the legacy on this adventure that all of you guys are doing. So obviously just keep it up, and it would be great to like stay in touch with you on your journeys as well. Obviously I'm friends with you guys on Instagram and stuff now. But no, I really appreciate you guys joining me and hearing your stories.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Greg.
Thanks for having us. And if anyone does want to follow us and see what we're actually doing, is that okay if I say that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Please, Harry.
At Harry_Gallimore. That's GALLIMORE.
I'm at cameraman Stan _
And then I'm at Saint SAINT _ Yared YARED.
Please change that.
I didn't change that. Saint Yared is an Ethiopian clergyman who invented polyphonic rhythms.
That's good to know. I didn't know that. But what I will do is I'll pop all of those in the description below. Oh, sorry, Stan. I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay. If you want to follow the main mission, that's at Hardest Geezer on all socials, including our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and if you find that, you'll find all of our socials, you'll find all of our Patreon, and you'll find all of our charitable donation spaces. And you can find some French lessons and some perfect head.
Everything you could ever want.
Everything you could ever want. And Huel.
Everything you possibly need. But I'll put as much as to say all your socials and everything in the description below. And in the article as well, I'll be sharing, what this video itself, also writing up about this whole conversation we've had, as well as sharing the link to the YouTube channel. So we will have lots of good information going out there for all you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Really. Have a nice evening.
And sorry, before that, I think all of us should just say as well, we're a little bit fanboyish that we're being interviewed on F-Stoppers. When you messaged us, we were all like, F-Stoppers for us, and we made it. We told Russ that he's no longer the only famous one.
But it's great to hear. I've been watching you guys since the beginning, since like the first episode of you guys arriving in Africa, and just as soon as kind of everything kind of started going off, I was like, this is a really good story. Like, I'm enjoying kind of the challenges. Say even before kind of the robbery happened, I was like, I want to chat to these guys, and I think it was only when after the robbery happened, I actually saw Stan's email address being shared on Twitter when you wrote back to somebody, and I was just like, oh, that's an opportunity for me to like contact these guys. That's a way in, you know. And I'm glad now it's kind of worked out, and we've managed to kind of have this chat. And it's been really great.
Thank you so much.
Really,
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No worries all. But look, you guys have a great evening, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys.